Time magazine called him the unsung hero behind the internet. CNN called him a father of the internet. President Bill Clinton called him one of the great minds of the information age. He has been voted history's greatest scientist of African descent. He is Philip Emeagwali. He's coming to Trinidad and Tobago to launch the 2008 Kwame Ture lecture series on Sunday, June 8th at the JFK Auditorium, UWI St. Augustine, 5 p.m. The Emancipation Support Committee invites you to come and hear this inspirational mind address the theme, crossing new frontiers to conquer today's challenges. This lecture is one you cannot afford to miss. Admission is free, so be there on Sunday, June 8th, 5 p.m. at the JFK Auditorium, UWI St. Augustine.
The superfast supercomputer is used to solve the world's grand challenge problems, such as foreseeing otherwise unforeseeable climate changes. The high-performance supercomputer is used to increase the pace of scientific discovery and technological invention. The massively parallel supercomputer is used to increase economic growth and to create new mathematics. My contribution to superfast mathematical computations is the reason my name, Philip Emeagwali, and my photo appears in the mathematics textbooks of some 12-year-olds. Students that learn about the parallel supercomputer are more likely to choose a career in computer science. My contribution to superfast mathematical computations was the reason my photograph and the description of my new partial differential equations graced the cover of the May 1990 issue of the top publication in the world of mathematics, namely the mathematician's newspaper called SIAM News. The supercomputers of the past sequentially process the floating point arithmetical operations that must be executed to solve grand challenge problems arising in STEM fields. In contrast, the supercomputers of today parallel processes the toughest problems by solving 1 million problems at once. Harnessing an ensemble of 1 million electronic processors and using it to simultaneously and cooperatively solve a grand challenge problem is mathematically similar to also using an ensemble of 1 million human computers and using it to tackle the same grand challenge problem. Parallel processing was science fiction when it was first theorized back on February 1, 1922. Simultaneously solving 64,000 initial boundary value problems of mathematical physics was theorized in the book titled Weather Prediction by Numerical Process. The science fiction and parallel process solution of that grand challenge problem of 1922 was defined as 64,000 human computers parallel processing the weather for the whole globe. That was the science fiction precursor to the general circulation parallel processed modeling of today that is used to foresee otherwise unforeseeable global warming. My parallel supercomputer quest that began on June 20, 1974 in Corvallis, Oregon, United States, and ended on the 4th of July, 1989 in Los Alamos, New Mexico, United States, was to make that science fiction of 1922 a reality. I was in the news headlines when I made that parallel supercomputing discovery and did so 67 years later. The big jump in the speed of the supercomputer of today came from my discovery of parallel supercomputing that occurred on the 4th of July, 1989. Parallel supercomputing, or doing many things at once, is the vital technology that underpins the world's fastest computers. To invent the parallel supercomputer was like gazing across the centuries, gazing across the millennia, and searching for our post-human descendants of year million. I once dreamt that in 65,000 years, a super intelligent 5-year-old will be a parallel processed cyborg, a half human, a half machine. But yet that post-human cyborg had no sense of the history of who invented his or her parallel processed self. If the history of science repeats itself, the names of today's inventors will be lost in the mist of time. The quest for how to massively parallel process across an ensemble of 1 million processors was in the realm of science fiction for 7 decades. Parallel supercomputing was the unorthodox and staggering supercomputer theory that changed the way we look at the modern computer. Before practical parallel supercomputing was discovered, we looked at the core essence of the supercomputer as an isolated processor that is not a member of an ensemble of processors, but as perhaps a main node on a new internet that is a planetary super-sized supercomputer hopeful. After I discovered practical parallel supercomputing, I looked at the fastest supercomputer of tomorrow to be a global network of processors and to be a new internet that will be a planetary-sized supercomputer, hopeful, that encircled the Earth. I was in the news in 1989 because the parallel supercomputer that I discovered was a game changer that changed the game of supercomputing. The bird sings the same song as its ma and pa. Human progress occurs when we sing a better song than our ma and pa. I'm Philip Emeagwali. I've fully described my contributions to the development of the modern supercomputer that is the world's fastest computer. And I've described my contributions at emeagwali.com. I, an African inventor, invented practical parallel supercomputing that is used to solve real-world problems, and that is the technology that underpins everyday supercomputer. The Philip Emeagwali computer is a human invention that is my contribution to human knowledge, but that is not an African invention per se. Thank you.
Insightful and brilliant lecture.